Excuse me. Good evening, everyone. Hi. All right. My name is Angela Ferguson, and I am in Infamous Mother book. Thank you guys for your attention. I want to introduce you to Tanisha Lynn Pyron. She'll be doing an insert from the book Infamous Mothers.
I am a grandmother of 6 and a great-grandmother of 6. I never thought that I would live to see my daughter get grown, but now I have the pleasure of helping to raise 6 great-grandkids. That's pretty infamous. When I was like a year or 2 years old, someone gave me something, some kind of medication, and I fell and I was injured. I carry a scar on my stomach mostly all my life from that injury. My auntie came and took me from Chicago because someone tried to kill me. And I just grew up in violence, in a violent household. But I got old enough to make my decisions for myself, and my decision was to be a whore and to get high. I never knew my father. My mother was an alcoholic, and I got little to no attention. I was looking for love and only found sex. I had no idea what love was because I wasn't shown love. I didn't know any better. It led me from man to man, STDs, drug abuse, living in abandoned buildings, you name it, I've been there. My grandmother took us to church all the time, and I knew that there was a God. No matter what happened, no matter what I went through, I always believed that there was a God, and I also believed that he didn't want that for me. When I used to get high, I'd tell him, y'all better enjoy this because I'm not going to be here. And they would always look at me and say, well, where you going? Where you going? I'm like, I don't know, but I know one thing. I'm not going to be getting high in here with y'all, and I'm not going to be here for the rest of my life because that isn't what God has for me. I knew it. I went to my gynecologist, and I told him, I have a drug problem, and the bottom line is if I have to continue to get high, I want to die. I didn't want to live. And he was looking at me like, Lenora, I don't know nothing about this. My God, just sit here. Just sit here. So he walked out of the room, and he locked the door, and I couldn't get out. He was gone about an hour and a half, and when he came back, he said, my colleagues, they told me I should have you committed because you said that you'd rather die than to continue to get high. But you know what? There's something in you. I can't put my finger on it, but I can't send you to a mental institution because you're not crazy. He sent me to this exclusive place so I could detox, even though there's no detoxification off of cocaine. It's not like heroin. When you detox off of heroin, you're physically sick, and you have to go to the hospital because you could die. But I was on crack. So my detox was a state of mental being. He told me, don't worry about the money. He's a doctor. He said it. Don't worry about the money, and don't let her out until her recovery is done so she can go home. I think about how far I've come. I never expected to be here today with 3 great-grandkids. That's a blessing. I'm not the woman I used to be. I'm married. My husband has his doctorate. I am at church faithfully, and I just started a book club. And I work regularly. My life is just really good, and I'm happy. I didn't have a high school diploma, but I own my own businesses. Greatest Cleaning Service. My business was me and my family, my grandsons. I promoted properties. I owned my own business. I worked for DHS and for over 10 years watched foster kids and foster parents. I'm writing a book. It's a book of poems. And I'm happy. My superpower is working with women and empowering women and letting them see who they are, because for some reason I can see who they are. Sometimes we don't know who we are, and we need someone to tell us. Maybe, just maybe, my life wouldn't have been as chaotic as it was when I was younger if I had someone to show me who I was, to guide and direct me. When women are the only beings, we women are the only beings that were not created out of dirt. Adam was created out of dirt. We were created out of flesh and blood. We bring forth life. We brought forth the Messiah. Every king in this world, we brought forth. Every queen, everybody in the world, we bring to life. We're special beings. There's no one like us, especially mothers. The gamut of mothers is so wide. You ever have a baby and you clean up after them and you cook? Mothers. They're psychologists, they're counselors, they're referees, they're maids, you name it. Where does it stop? If they were to put a title on what we do as mothers, I don't know how much we would make, but I'm sure it will be something like $150,000 or more, because the work just never ends. We have to make sure the kids don't kill each other 24 hours a day, even when we sleep. We have one eye open and one eye closed. Memorial Day just passed. You see soldiers. They guard the tomb of the unknown soldier, and you see all these white cross headstones. It reminds me of my mother. You know, forgotten, unknown, not considered. But now, Infamous Mothers has given us a face, a voice. We get to be heard. We can be seen, and I'm not saying that we need all this credit, but it's good to know that there's mothers out there besides me that have gone through things and come out of it and survived. It is possible to survive motherhood. Thank you.
Wow. Let's give another round of applause to Tanisha for that powerful performance.
One eye open and one eye closed, even at night. Do you live in my house?
I'm not even a mother, and I'm just like, ooh wee. Whew, maybe that's why I'm not a mother. I don't know. Oh no. Whew. Good evening. I'm Angela Davis, Development Director at Madison Community Foundation and Staff Liaison for A Fund for Women. I've had the privilege of working with women and men who have chosen philanthropy as a way to support women and girls in Dane County.
As Lisa Payton Kerr mentioned earlier this evening, it's because of our generous sponsors, American Family Insurance, MG&E, Summit Credit Union, and the Employer Group, that many of you took part in our community listening sessions in 2016. The common themes that emerged are the ongoing and pervasive disparities based on age, race, and income levels.
As a result of those conversations, national and local research, and the report that came out of those conversations, A Fund for Women has a targeted direction for its grant making. A Fund for Women has adopted for the foreseeable future a focus on women of color, single mothers ages 20 to 40, women living in or near poverty levels who hope to have a more stable economic future in which they can both provide for their family's basic needs while saving for future goals. Pervasive disparities also lead to structural barriers and setbacks, such as lack of affordable child care, health care, and housing. Women, particularly women living in poverty, struggle to navigate the complex systems that are supposed to help them. And it is very, very frustrating. I'm sure many of us who have went through or who have tried to help others understand the complexity of these systems. We want women and girls to thrive. But what does thrive really mean? Webster defines thrive as to grow vigorously, to flourish, to gain wealth or possessions, and to prosper, to progress toward or realize a goal despite or because of circumstances. A Fund for Women continues to support organizations in our community that are working to assist women in thriving and changing the narrative one woman at a time. We hope our investment will lead to career and job opportunities that advance and increase a woman's earning potential. In addition to funding programs and opportunities for women to develop financial literacy skills, for personal household management, to entrepreneur opportunities, such as our keynote speaker tonight, Sagashus Levingston. This year, we received a record number of grant applications, which tells us the need is great for charitable resources to support women and girls in Dane County.
Because of the generosity of everyone who believes in our mission, a Fund for Women awarded at their full request level almost $75,000 in grants this year. It is my great pleasure to announce these 2017 A Fund for Women grant recipients. Representatives from each organization are with us this evening, and I invite them to please stand. Please do hold your applause until all grantees have been recognized. The Latino Academy of Workforce Development, Latinas in the Workforce. The Doyen Group Evergreen Fund. UW Odyssey Project, Onward Odyssey, Empowering Women. And the YWCA Madison Y-Web Career Academy. Thanks to each one of you for the imperative work you're doing for women and families in our community. So, to set goals and to monitor our own progress at A Fund for Women, we have implemented the Kaplan-Nolan Strategy Map and Balance Scorecard. I said it right?
You did. Yeah. I'm impressed. I wrote it, but I didn't know if you would say it right. Better you than me. That's why it's on your,
So this methodology helps us to, I know, right? Yeah.
You all knew me.
So using this methodology, we've set targets through 2020 and beyond in the areas of stakeholder impact, financial growth, process improvement, talent, and technology. The ability to measure results is essential to the work we're doing to create positive and lasting change for women and girls in our community. So with that, Angela and I both invite you to enjoy the rest of the evening. And please, Ms. Jaleesa, it's your turn on stage.
Thank you.
I keep trying to picture everybody in their underclothes, but it's not working. Okay. Good evening. My name is Jaleesa Edwards. Some of you may have remembered me from hearing my story at last year's event. It is my pleasure to introduce tonight's keynote speaker, Ms. Sagashus Levingston. But I first would like to share what a difference a year has made. I am a graduate of the UW Odyssey Project. I made I made the dean's list at Madison College last semester. I also received an invitation to be a part of the Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society. And I'm a published author. Yay. But unfortunately, sometimes there's always some sort of negativity that has to follow the good things. About a month ago, my boys and I were injured in a terrible car accident that placed me out of work. But nevertheless, I'm still working hard to make a way for me and my boys. Navigating through challenges I continue to face, I refuse to let them define me. Now, I want to tell you guys a little bit about my relationship with Sagashus, who I consider a true role model in my life. We have gotten to know one another quite well, and my boys simply adore her. I remember meeting her at the Black Business Expo that was hosted by Sabrina Madison, and I saw her nice little infamous mother's table set up with her nice candy bowl. The only thing that just wowed me was I saw empty chocolate candy wrappers on her table, and I'm just like, what is that? And then I see two nappy-headed children running to the candy and then running off. And then I look back and I'm like, those are my nappy-headed children. So as I nonchalantly tried to coax them away from her table, she stopped me and she's like, you know, your boys ate my candy. I'm like, yeah. But our relationship has truly hit a pivotal point a few months ago when she contacted me because I was the first woman to come to her mind when she was preparing to write a story for the Bravo magazine. My story was chosen as the cover story for the August issue. Prior to that, thank you. Prior to that, she made it a point to check in on me and my children on a daily basis, and for that, I'm truly grateful. Sagashus Levingston was born in Chicago and raised in the area now known as Bronzeville, but known for gentrification as the low end. She holds a bachelor's in English literature from the University of Illinois at Chicago and a master's in Afro-American Studies from University of Wisconsin-Madison. She is currently a PhD candidate in UW-Madison's Department of English and writing a dissertation titled Infamous Mothers, Bad Moms Doing Extraordinary Things. I'm a bad mom. Frustrated about the scarcity of literature written about infamous mothers who make a difference in the public sphere, Livingston was determined to gather stories of women she could quote in her dissertation. She wanted their words and their voices to be included in academic conversation. Infamous Mothers is a collection of stories about 20 women who did more than move from trial to triumph. They are changing the world in the work they do as counselors, doulas, professors, entrepreneurs, artists, and so much more. A Fund for Women is proud to introduce to some and present to others Ms. Sagashus Levingston.
All right, let me get comfortable up here for a bit. All right. So every time we start these things, I always find myself struggling not to break down and cry. And it always sneaks up on me without fail. I don't know how, I don't know why. No, I do know why. Because this is my dream, to do what I'm doing. And it never gets old for me. It never gets, I never get tired. I'm always humbled. I'm always thankful that you all chose me, whenever you choose me. And so I don't take you for granted, and I don't take this opportunity for granted. I want to thank Angela Davis and the Fund for Women for inviting me here and for trusting me to deliver a worthwhile message to your supporters and your funders. I want to thank my partner, who, Lord knows, we have knocked down dragouts, but I am proud of the progress that we've made. I want to thank everyone at that table, right there, table number 16, I think it is, because they're either a person in our book projects or the editor, people who really worked hard to help make this dream come true. I want to thank my mentor, Amy Gannon, wherever you are in this room. If you all knew the things that Amy and I do in this world, the capers and the journeys we make together, the laughs. She's more than a mentor, she's a friend and a major support. Before we go into what I want to talk about tonight, I would like for Miss Lenora Roden to stand, please. And Miss Tanisha Pyron to stand with her. Hello. Okay. I thank you, Tanisha, for being Miss Lenora's muse tonight, for telling her story and telling it in a way that honors her personality and honors the things that are important to her. So with that said, let's do this. All right. One of the things that we have to keep in mind this month, we know it's Halloween, the month of Halloween. We know that this is also a month about domestic violence. We know it's a month about breast cancer. And one of the things that I wanted to start with is in honor of my first experience with domestic violence, or my first understanding of domestic violence, was Tina Turner's story. What's her movie, What's Love Got to Do with It? And if you all remember, there was a point when she was singing, and I can't sing you all, but you all know what I'm talking about, when she says, left a good job in the city. Y'all remember that song? All right, I ain't about to go there, but it's that song. And how she began that song is, sometimes, you know, we like to start off nice and easy, and then we end up rough. You all remember that? On this journey with me, I'm going to tell you all, it's going to be easy for a little bit, and then it's going to get rough, and then we're going to come back to easy. So I need you all to stay with me. I got you. Just trust me on this, right? We're going to talk about some hard things, important things, but those things are going to be so important because it's so relevant to the work that's happening here today. So just trust me, all right? So with that said, often when I tell you the story of infamous mothers, I start with a conversation about how I came to Madison to study men in prison. I came here for a master's degree in the Department of African American Studies, and I studied a book by James Baldwin called If Beale Street Could Talk, and I was fascinated by what I learned and the story that was told. At the same time, life went on. I was experiencing things, going through a particular heartache. I had an office mate, very quiet woman, Muslim woman, African American, from South Carolina, and she would always talk like this. Hi, Sagashus, are you having a good day today? Hi, Sagashus, what's going on today? And one day, she came in and she said, Sagashus, have you ever thought about studying feminism? And I'm like, yeah, no, I haven't. There's nothing about feminism that interested me because I was always told, and if you've heard me speak before, I tell this story all the time, that feminists were not allowed to wear bras, they couldn't wear lip gloss, and they had to hate men, right? And I'm like, I need my bra. I need it. With the underwire support. And I need lip gloss. And I love my partner. So, yeah, I never thought about feminism. And one day, I was going through something, a very painful experience was happening in my life. And my very quiet roommate, office mate who talks like this, she was sitting behind me and she said, somebody almost walked away with all my stuff. And I'm like, what just happened? Who is this? And what stuff did they walk away with? And it was my introduction to feminism. And she explained to me that feminism is not about hating men. It's not about not wearing lip gloss. It's not about not being able to wear a bra. Feminism is really about reclaiming the things that people have walked away with. And it's about equality. And so it was my introduction to feminism, and I fell in love with it. And I usually tell people in this story that I went on to took a class with a professor that I loved and I admired, and I enjoyed everything that I learned in this course. It was the first time that I had language for my own experiences, things that I had gone through as a woman. That is the narrative that I tell often. But the one that I don't tell is, in that discovery, I ran across a story. I ran across a story about a mom, a single mom with multiple children, who killed her baby. And the researcher in me, when I started reading the comments, the things that people were saying about this woman, if she couldn't take care of her baby, she shouldn't have them. If she didn't want her baby, she shouldn't have. All of these reasons, all of these things people were saying. But the researcher in me, I was a new researcher and I was trained, find a gap in the literature. What is the thing that's not being said? What is the thing that's not being explored? And so the researcher in me said, while everyone else is focusing on the child, what are questions I can ask about the mom? She had multiple children. So did she say somewhere during the course of her life and her experience as a mom, by the time I get to my third child, that's the one whose life I'm going to take? Did she say, well, you know what? I don't really want kids, but I'm going to produce them anyway because I'm bored or because I want to do harm, I want to ruin someone's life? I don't think that that was her logic. So then the question for me became, what exactly was it that would lead a mom of multiple children to take the lives of one of those children? So what I need you all to do right now is I need you all to look at the person next to you and say, this is about to get real. All right. So, in going back to that story, in my effort to answer the question of why is it that a woman would do such an act that is considered heinous, I discovered something. In that story, the woman went to church, and she said, and people in her church saw that she was struggling, and a couple came to her, and they offered to keep her child. They said, it looks like you're struggling with these babies. We'd like to make things a little bit easier for you. Do you mind if we adopt your baby? She refused to help. But what was interesting was that she refused to help because she didn't want to be seen as a bad mom. The researcher in me was interested in this contradiction. By not wanting to be seen as a bad mom, she had done the very act that will permanently define her as a bad mom. And so I wanted to understand, what was it that had shaped her mind? What was it that had influenced her? The other thing I wanted to think about as a mom is I struggled. The thing that I didn't want to think about is that as a mom, I struggled. I wanted to, more than anything, while the researcher in me wanted to communicate and wanted to say how and why and how did she get here and what are the contradictions and what are the tensions, the mom in me felt that if I explored this, I would be guilty by association. Just by reading her article, just by reading her story, it would be an indication that I, too, am compliant, or I'm too am complicit in this very thing that she's done. Just by hearing her, just by listening to her, just by wanting to understand, I felt that as if I was indicting myself. Yet I had lived enough life to know that if she was capable of doing something heinous, then under the right circumstances, that I too could be capable of doing the same thing. That you too could be capable of the same thing under the right or wrong conditions. People often ask me, Sagashus, as an English major, who is your favorite author? Toni Morrison, Gail Jones, Gloria Naylor, but my favorite of all time is James Baldwin, because James Baldwin just tells it like it is. So in my struggle to try to make sense of what this woman was going through, and this push and pull to distance myself from this heinous thing that this woman had done, and my deep-seated concern and anxiety about the fact that if this woman has done this thing, maybe I would one day too, or maybe you would too, or maybe someone else I know. My mind kept saying, well, where did this come from? How did you feel this way? Why do you feel this way? And it was that daggum James Baldwin. In his piece called The Uses of the Blues, he says, how can I put it? Let us talk about a person who is no longer very young, who somehow managed to get to, let us say, the age of 40, and a great many of us do, without ever having been touched, broken, disturbed, frightened. 40-year-old virgin, male or female. There is a sense of the grotesque about a person who has spent his or her life in a kind of cotton batting. There is something monstrous about never having been hurt, never having been made to bleed, never having lost anything, never having gained anything, because life is beautiful. And in order to keep it beautiful, you're going to stay just the way you are, and you're not going to test your theory against all the possibilities outside. America is something like that. The failure on our part to accept the reality of pain, of anguish, of ambiguity, of death has turned us into a peculiar and sometimes monstrous people. It means, for one thing, and it's very serious, that people who have had no experience have no compassion. People who have had no experience suppose that if a man is a thief, he is a thief. But in fact, that isn't the most important thing about him. The most important thing about him is that he is a man. And furthermore, if he's a thief or a murderer or whatever he is, you could also be. And you would know this, anyone would know this, who had ever really dared to live. Miles Davis once gave poor Billie Holiday $100, and somebody said, man, don't you know she's going to go out and spend it on dope? And Miles said, baby, have you ever been sick? I replaced that question, baby, have you ever been sick, with the question, baby, have you ever lived under the pressure of trying to be a good mom? Have you ever lived under the pressure of trying to avoid what it means to be labeled a bad mom? Now, I'm going to ask you all for a second. Think about it. What is it that we ask a woman when we demand of her to be good, a good mom? Y'all know the answers. We ask her to be what? Come on, just say a couple things. What is it? Perfect. Come on, couple things. Give me a couple more. Perfect. Patient. Quiet. What else? Selfless. Endless energy. White and middle class. Who said that? Raise your hand. Okay. She get extra dessert tonight, and a drink. All right, couple more. What did you say? Role models. Superwoman. Strong. Resourceful. What else? Everything. Cool? All right, cool. All right. So 2 things that I often hear is we ask moms to be self-sacrificing or sacrificial, and we ask moms to provide endless nurturing, because that's what happens when you become a mom. You become a natural nurturer. So the narrative goes. So much of the research suggests that that is not reality. And the things that we demand and ask of moms, the things that we require, when we put it all together, becomes more of an ideal, rooted in some type of construction that I'm sure a mom did not create. Almost positive. But let's talk about what this means. When we think about any job in our society that we value, let's take a surgeon. If a surgeon is on his feet for too long, if he's in surgery for too long, we send him home. Because after a while, we understand that mistakes will be made. Are there any business owners in here? Raise your hand if you own a business. The question becomes, as a business owner, do we value our customers more than we value our staff or our employers? And if we do value our customers more than we value our staff or our employees, what will ultimately be the outcome of that business? In most things that we do that matters in life, we understand that the caretaker, be it the surgeon, be it the employee, has to be treated humanely. But for some reason, the way that we construct mothering, the way that we construct the labor force that produces the labor force, we make an exception. We live in a society that says it's okay to lock one person in the house all day with a newborn person. The kid is new to the world, the mom is new to mothering. We feel that that's okay, right? And then when we lock this person in the house, we say, I need you to love this person who cries all day and who demands so much from you unconditionally. I need you to sacrifice until you cannot sacrifice anymore. I need that thing that's inside of you that's supposed to activate, that nurturing thing. I need it to activate immediately. And I need you to love this kid perpetually. I need you to be perfect. I need you to be patient. I need you to be strong. I need you to be resourceful. And I'm going to lock the door, and I'm going to go out in the world, and I'm going to make the money. And when I come back, I'm going to also want you to make sure that the house is clean. Food is cooked. And if you get a job, that's cute. And that's nice. Right? When we say it like that, it sounds almost ridiculous, right? And yet, this is what we do. I want to tell you the story about my own mom. I want to tell you that when I started collecting the stories for this book project, my mom said something to me that I had never known about her. I'm homeschooling my son, and I had him read her story, and I don't think he's been able to have a good conversation with her since. And I think it's in part because it surprised him to see his grandma in a way that he's never seen her. She says, I am an infamous mother. I have 2 children. My oldest child, his name is Bobby, like his father. I had my son at the age of 20, and my daughter's name is Sagashus. I was a virgin at 19. The first time I had sex, I got pregnant. So I had to get married. I got married because of stigma, not because of love. I shouldn't have got married. But back then in the 60s, people looked down on you if you were a single mom. I got married because I was afraid that people would judge me. That made me not like my son. I blamed him since the first time I had sex, he decided he wanted to come. I was ignorant. I wasn't a lovable mother towards my boy. I was abusive. Verbally, I was very abusive. When he was small, he was a nice little kid. He never gave me a hard way to go, not knowing that I didn't really like him. But as he got older, he started getting in trouble. He was in and out of jail during his teenage days and his adult life. I was one of those people. Everything was centered around me. It was all about me. I was frustrated and angry and depressed because my dream was gone. My dream of becoming someone great. Bobby's father loved him. Also, his father was one of those men that cared for his family financially. So he didn't want me to work or go to school. That was a problem with me because I was still wanting to go to school and have a career. My husband, he loved me, but I wasn't in love with him. Not in the beginning. I grew to love him later in our marriage when he was at work. Instead of me just staying at home cooking and cleaning, I would sneak and take classes to learn about the computer because they said that was going to be the big thing, computers. I wanted to learn all about them. Back then, typing was a big deal. If you knew how to do that, you were in demand. But they said eventually the computer was going to take over. I believed them, so I pursued that. What my mom doesn't tell in the story was that when she was going to school, her husband would throw her books out the window. And so that's why she had to sneak. And so then my question to you is, what type of conditions is it that we've created? And what are the fruits of what do we expect to be the fruits of those conditions? If we really look at what it means to be a mother. During the 60s, my mom's husband thought that what he was doing was okay. He felt his wife was being rebellious when she decided to go get an education, when she decided to pursue technology. Can you imagine a black woman in the 60s interested in technology? Something we never hear about. And yet her books were being thrown out the window. The more she tried to pursue this, the more he became physically abusive. And in turn, she took that abuse out on my brother. As my mom's story progresses, and the more she pursues her dream, the more we see her transition and change as a woman, as a person, as a mother. And by the time I come, in her 30s, she's a totally different person. This story shocked me because she was not the mother. In this story, she's not the mother that I know. I tell you this because while we think that so much has changed, we still find ourselves challenged by gender norms and social expectations. When I explained to my very first mentor that I wanted to start a business that focused on putting mothers back in mothering. His conversation was, yeah, because the better they are as women, the better they can be as mothers. I'm like, yeah, but no. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, the better they are as women, the better they are as women. Right? The concept of infamous mothers, where the moms are the experts on their mothering, is a strange concept. Because mothering and mothers don't exist outside of children. The moment a woman becomes a mother, and we tell it women all the time, the minute you became a mother, your life stopped. And there's danger in that narrative. One of the most revelatory things that I experienced is the ability to assert myself as a woman and as a human being and as an individual, even as I mother my own children. One of the most exhilarating things I was able to experience is completing a bachelor's degree with my 3 children in the audience, and then a master's degree, but I think I had 4 by that time, maybe 5. And then to pursue a graduate degree with being a mother of 6. So why am I telling you this? Why on this night that Miss Angela Davis calls the Night of Women, am I talking to you about mothers? Why am I telling you this story about infanticide? Why am I telling you this story about the importance of a woman having her own identity outside of mothering, even when she is a mother? It wasn't until I read this story, and I was already a mother of at least 4, that I realized that it was okay to say that we should consider women, even when they are mothers, as their own whole human selves, that we should consider the humanity of women. And when I was able to say that, I realized how alone I was in the world, that we have been socialized very differently. And so tonight, I want to celebrate and acknowledge a fund for women, because in their description of what they do and who they serve, they have told us that they serve and they focus on women of color, single mothers ages 20 through 40, women living in or near poverty levels who hope for a more stable future, economic future, in which they can both provide for their family's basic needs while saving for future goals. And while they've acknowledged that moms are important to their children and their families and the communities, they've also acknowledged the importance of valuing and validating the woman. Tonight, I want to acknowledge some of the recipients of funding tonight. I want to thank the Latino Academy of Workforce Development for teaching GED in a language that is specific to its audience, teaching it in Spanish. I want to acknowledge this academy for training women to go into construction work. I want to acknowledge Web Academy for offering this generation the thing that my mom struggled to get, which is access to learning how to use technology. I want to particularly acknowledge the Odyssey Project. Emily, I don't know if you're here tonight, and I know I owe you some work. I'm going to give it to you. I got you, Emily. I ain't forgot, Emily. I'm standing in front of everybody, so you know I'm keeping my word. And I want to acknowledge Odyssey because my aunt, in this book, told us her story. And I wonder if she had been an Odyssey student, how different it would have been. She says, people judged me in their eyesight naive, like I was a stupid person. And I knew deep down that I wasn't stupid. That's what I had to build on. I'm not stupid, okay? People talked to me and I wouldn't respond and use my words properly. If somebody asked me and I didn't know the definitions of a word, someone felt that they were more intelligent. I felt if I spoke out, I was going to be corrected, and corrected to a point that I felt stupid. But I knew I wasn't. I always had to prove to myself that I was a better person. My inside was on fire. I was a better person, a stronger person than you could imagine. But that was on the inside. My auntie's son went through Odyssey, and he was quiet, just like her. And he didn't feel that his voice mattered. And by the time he had gone through Odyssey, he felt like he can do anything. One of the women in our book project, Janet, also went through Odyssey. She says, I am me, Janet, and I'm sure she wrote this for Odyssey, because this sounds like an Odyssey piece. Yes, me, hey, hi, and hello. I'm not ashamed of me. I'm not afraid to admit I am not perfect. I'm not afraid to say yes, I have messed up in the past. I am not afraid to say that I have made mistakes. I am not afraid to stand tall and proud of the woman I have grown to become. I am not afraid to stand tall and say, yes, I have my days, but with God's help, we got those days. I'm not afraid to stand here and say, yes, I have not been the most perfect woman, mother, lover, daughter, auntie, grandchild, sister, friend, or even a self-examiner. I have not been a perfect person. My soul used to be dark, and my heart used to carry hate, and my mind wouldn't let me forget. Yes, I am not perfect, but at least I can stand here today and say, no, not say. I can scream from the mountaintop that I am no longer many of these things. I am a survivor. I have survived what most couldn't even handle just in conversation. I can now walk tall and proud of who and what I am, but most of all, I can stand tall and proud because I am no longer a victim. Not a victim of circumstance, nor a victim of choice. I stand tall because you can't hurt me with your judgments anymore. You can't hurt me with my past because I already accepted who I am. And God has already forgiven me before I even became a victim. I stand tall because I am a survivor. Now you can deal with my truth. And I think this story is important for so many reasons. But one of the things that I want to acknowledge Odyssey for is that it's a space that allows people to use their voice, the very people who've been most silenced by our society. 10 years of teaching at the UW, I can tell you that students who come the traditional route are very good with grammar and structure and rules, but we struggle to get them to develop their voice. Students who come through Odyssey, they may have a little trouble with rules, may have some problems with grammar, but voice is a thing that they have mastered and that they're proud of. And Emily gives every student a space to use that voice. As I get ready to end, I want to share and acknowledge one more recipient tonight. I always encourage women entrepreneurs to become members of Doyen. I love to tell them that all they need is the word "the," and that organization will help them build a suitable, sustainable business. I'm kind of joking, but not really. And I say I'm kind of joking because you don't really even need "the," you just show up. And they got you. By the time I had become a button-wearing member of this nonprofit for women entrepreneurs, I had taken several business classes in the community. Neither the mentors nor the instructors knew how to help me move my idea from a dissertation project to a business concept. But Amy, one of Doyen's co-founders, did. I'll never forget how she lit up and drew closer to me as I talked to her about my work. She pulled out her red journal, asked me questions, and got to writing. What do you imagine for your business 5 years from now? I answered. What kind of changes would you like to see made in the world? I answered. What kind of activities do you see yourself doing? I answered. What kind of products would you make? I answered. Before long, she had sketched out a full plan, a blueprint for the business that would become known as Infamous Mothers. It started with the changes I wanted to make in the world. Somehow, in the form of a small startup, all of the seemingly unrelated parts of my life had come together. Nothing, not even the ugliness or pain, had been wasted. My life started to make sense to me. I began to make sense. Amy always says that entrepreneurship happens within the context of a life, not the other way around. And I think it's only a women's organization that can understand that. Because we are required and almost mandated by society to pursue our dreams in addition to, or outside of, or as a secondary thing to this space called a domestic space or family. Only a woman can tell another woman, or can think to even tell another woman, no, the way we're going to work around this system is we're going to have this thing happen within your life. Amy is teaching us about value proposition. In doing so, she is asking us to think about our purple cow, that thing that sets us apart from everyone else, the thing that makes us the best at what we do. I'm thinking. These questions make me blush and feel uneasy. Deep down inside, I know the answer. But who am I to say it aloud? Who am I to own it? My purple cow is that I both have the education and the personal experience that best qualifies me to create products and deliver services for the women we call infamous mothers. Imagine that. Who would have thought that my biggest source of shame, my failed relationships and single parenting, would somehow be valuable? As we close out tonight, I want us to go back to the story about the woman who said that she made the mistake of taking her child's life because she was struggling with what it means to be a good mom or a bad mom. And I want you to think about, what if that couple had came to her and asked her a very different question? Instead of saying, can we adopt your baby? They said to her, wow, I see persistence in you. I see resilience. What can we do to help make that thing come alive? What can we do to help you pursue your dreams? In you, I see power. What can we do to release that? Or as Amy of Doyen would say, what can we do to unleash it? I wonder if the outcome of that would have been a stronger woman, a happier woman, a woman who felt more complete. And a byproduct of that would have been a healthier, stronger family and a healthier, stronger community. I'm not proud to say that it was in the death of a child that I was finally able to understand and realize and see the mother. But I am proud to say that at least right now I see. And I'm hoping that you all can do the same. Thank you all.
When I go places in public, I have always noticed how people count my children for me. Wow, you've got your hands full. People think that's the thing to say to a mother of multiple children, but it really is offensive. When I tell people how many, they're shocked. They say, "You don't look like you have 5 kids." Depending on what kind of mood I'm in, I'll say, "Well, now you can reset what you think a mother of 5 kids looks like. Here I am, nice to meet you." I live in a community that is mostly upper middle class Caucasian. And here I am with my dark-skinned self and my head wraps on and with my Afrocentricity, and people don't know what to do with me, how to receive me. They'll say things like, "You're so well-spoken." When I first got pregnant, I was working at a flower shop in a grocery store. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm pregnant." I had just gotten married. I was 20 years old. I was part-time and didn't meet the 40-hour-per-week requirement. I enrolled in medical assistance. The way it works is you're told that now you go to county health. County health care was substandard. You feel like sardines because you're packed in a room where there's 100 people, and then the way they talk to you, you're a number. They tell you where you're going to give birth and how it's going to happen, and the provider that will be providing your services. I wasn't comfortable with my provider. I wasn't comfortable with a male provider, but there weren't any other options. When Jocelyn was born, my provider gave me an episiotomy. I didn't need it. They didn't tell me what was going on or why they needed to do it. My mother was upset. My husband was upset. Everybody was upset. I felt like a cow with a number tag in my ear. Number 52 in the herd. Just here to consume services however they see fit. Now here I am, a married woman, an employed woman. I started slowly but surely saying that this is what I want. This is where I would like to give birth. These are the people I want in my birth. People didn't know how to take it. Here you are, an African-American woman. You're young. You've got all these kids trailing behind you, and you're challenging me? And I'm saying yes. Yes, I am. And I speak like this, and I dress like this, and I have 5 children, and that's who I am. I'm not asking people to accept me. I'm telling people, this is who I am, and they need to adjust. This is what a mother of 5 looks like. This is what an articulate black woman looks like, and this is how I dress. I'm going to change the way people conceptualize being pregnant. I'm going to make the woman with the tattoos on her back and the 18-inch weave down her back believe she is beautiful, that she deserves to have services she designs around herself, that she isn't the upper middle class lady driving the expensive luxury car and living in a gated community. Sex happens. Sex feels good, and we're afraid to admit it. Making love is wonderful. When people are working a minimum wage job and it sucks and they don't have enough money to pay for the bills, what do? They drink, they smoke, they play the lottery, they make love, and the powers that be that control all of the wealth, that 1%, they know that. We spend money and they capitalize on it. I was in foster care from a very young age. I was a runaway. The people I trusted with my care who were supposed to feed me and send me to school weren't providing the basic necessities that I was supposed to have. But the number one thing was safety. It wasn't safe there. Having to run away put me in a place where I was then confronted with, who am I? I aged out of the foster care system, and then I found myself in a relationship with a young man who was very abusive. One time, I was arrested on my hospital bed. The doctor discharged me, and I was taken to jail with a dislocated jaw, a bruised rib, and a broken nose, and a black eye. I was 128 pounds soaking wet. This man is 220-something pounds. Do you think I attacked him? Being sexually abused before I ever reached puberty shaped who I was as an individual. I came into myself a broken individual. The Sojourn House was a safety net. But I couldn't stay there long because it had all these women who had been beaten up for years, women who had children by their abusers, and they were looking at me like, look at you. You're young. You got your whole life ahead of you. And you came, and you can go to college if you want. You can travel if you want. You can sing. You can paint. Go do something. And I did. I ran away. I left Springfield and went for a job, a new life. I left everything behind. That, for me, was the turning point. In this community, empowering people, educating people, I'm giving them information and supporting them through their struggles. I'm a lactation counselor, if I may say, kind words to a woman who's going through something big. How simple it is to say kind words to someone. She will have a better outcome. She will have a better outcome than a woman by herself who is doing the same things, going through the same things. If I say, you can do it, you're beautiful, you got this, keep going, and she's gonna have a better outcome. I operate in an ancient kind of wisdom that says, birth is natural. Birth is something the human body is already equipped to do. My superpower might be that I bring calm. Thank you.
All right, you all. You all know that this organization is called a fund for women. That said, I really want you all to think about the importance of supporting the women like the ones you've heard about in my keynote, and women like the ones Tanisha has represented in her performance, both performances. I want you all to think about programs like the Odyssey Project. It's always funny to me when funders who've never really engaged with the actual population of women say things like, well, why do they need a cab? How come they can't take the bus? When you think about all of the barriers that you've just heard in the stories that Tanisha has performed through Tamara and Lenora, you think about, imagine this mom. She's worked a job. She might be trying to deal with some type of sexual trauma. She might be trying to deal with some type of physical abuse. Yet she's resilient and she's showing up and she's doing the work. And it's at night. She gets off work, she gathers her kids, and it's snowing, and the bus is acting funny, or it's not snowing. The idea that that one thing, that one barrier that might be removed as a cab is going to show up can make the difference, because that might be the one thing that breaks her that night. When you think about something like the Doyen Project, 6 kids, that's me. And within a year and a half, I've made it to a cover of a major magazine here, Bravo magazine, and I've made it into a major national magazine, which is Essence magazine, and my book was considered one of their top trending issues for the month of August. That work happened because Amy met me in the strangest places and helped me fill gaps that no one else could help me fill, and she invested and supported me, and so did the Doyen family. There's real work that's happening in the organizations that are being supported here. YWeb Academy. Once a month, I go into the YWCA and I bring services to the women there. And I can tell you firsthand that those lives are being changed by the programming, the mindsets, the possibilities. So when you all fund and provide support for these women, I want you to think about what's at stake if you do not. I don't want you to think about the baby, because if you all walked away from my keynote, it was like, the babies, what about the babies? You have missed the point. It's what about the women? So I want you to look at that envelope and donate if you can and pledge online if you can. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jennifer Seeker-Conroy, and before we wrap up tonight, I just have a few final thoughts and words for you. I am the vice chair of a Fund for Women's Advisory Committee, and I'm proud to work for CUNA Mutual Group, which is well represented here tonight. And the fun is not over yet. We have a few reminders for you. I'd like you to plan ahead for next year. I know we're not even done tonight, but plan ahead for next year. It is our 25th anniversary of a Fund for Women next year. So 25 years ago, 100 women had a beautiful vision of building this fund. So please join us next year. We'll announce the date when we have it finalized, and we hope that you'll be able to celebrate with us. Also, a Fund for Women believes in supporting women-owned businesses, and there are a couple here represented tonight. First, we have a female photographer, Ingrid Laws, that you might have seen walking around, snapping some shots. And we will have pictures. You may see yourself on Facebook, so please check them out. Tag yourself, tag your friends. And then also, on your way home, you will receive an extra little treat from a business, Mo Butter Cookies, which is owned by a woman of color, Letitia McDuffie. And they're some of the best butter cookies you can imagine, so we hope you enjoy those. And before we end tonight, we will get you out of here very soon. I want to share some thoughts, and I have a question for you. So I admit that I've found myself over the past months to a year kind of looking around at Madison, at Dane County, at Wisconsin, at the U.S., at the world, and kind of saying, oh my gosh, and feeling a little heartbroken, and looking and saying, things are just broken out there, and they're not as good as they should be. And I found myself looking at it and saying, you know, I didn't break it, and I can't fix it. And I've been tempted to kind of throw up my hands, bury my head like an ostrich, and just kind of ignore it. So I ask you, by show of hands, has anyone felt like that in the last year, months, or year? Anyone? Is anyone with me? Okay. So I'll tell you, I really felt this at times, and upon further reflection, I have a couple things to share. Do not do that and be tempted to give up on your community for two big reasons. First, when you give up and you say, the problem is too big, I can't fix it, change is not happening quickly enough, you are letting yourself down, and you are not filling yourself up, and you're also robbing the world of your gifts. So you're letting yourself down. But secondly, if you give up and say the problem is too big, nothing changes, I can't fix it, and if I say that, and if you say that, and if you all say that, then nothing changes. Nothing changes. So we do know change is incremental. It can be painfully slow. We have setbacks. It can be slow and painful. It can be so frustrating. But we have to hold that beautiful future in our minds. We have to have that vision of that beautiful future that we know we deserve, and that our brothers and sisters deserve, and our sons and daughters and their sons and daughters deserve. So we have to keep that beautiful vision of this good community and good world while acknowledging, looking around, that we're not there yet, and things are broken. While acknowledging that, we have to hold that beautiful vision. And then we have to dedicate our own personal gifts. Our purple cow, was that it? Our own personal gifts, whatever they are. We have to dedicate our personal gifts to bringing about that vision little by little. And that will look different for every single one of us based on our circumstances, our talents, our age. For me, it means serving on the advisory committee for A Fund for Women and being a mentor for younger women and giving a regular monthly gift, automatic, to A Fund for Women. It might mean for you coming to this event every year. We hope it does. It might mean serving at a group at your work, networking, mentoring as well. It might mean leaving a legacy gift to A Fund for Women, or writing a check tonight or after you go home. It might mean just speaking up when you see women or people of color not represented fairly. It will mean different things to everybody. So whatever it is, I challenge you to give your unique gifts with persistence, even when you don't want to, and even when it can be frustrating and maddening that the change does not happen quickly enough. And I promise that that will help you feel whole, and together it will bring about change in our community and our world. So I leave you with this quote from a wise woman you may have heard of before, Oprah Winfrey. She says, "I've come to believe that each of us has a personal calling that's as unique as a fingerprint, and that the best way to succeed is to discover what you love and then find a way to offer it to others in the form of service, working hard, and also allowing the energy of the universe to lead you." And now, I would like to thank you on behalf of A Fund for Women for joining us tonight. It has been wonderful to have you all here. And there is still time this evening to make a donation. The envelopes are on your table, or please check us out at affw.org and stay in touch. If you take action with us, your gift will create real change for women and girls in Dane County. And when women and girls thrive, we know and we truly believe, say it with me, everybody wins. Thank you, everybody, and good night.